Yeah, there's a couple of similar approaches in Ruby. So you use it? This gem?
No, not this gem. We just write interaction based on active support concern and just use objects what we have in controller and go with simple cases and
they inject the concern into the objects, or how do you use active support concern? I thought it's concern.
It's Rails.
Yeah, but active support concern is a module, right?
yeah.
And the module gets injected automatically somewhere. But where does it get injected? Into the controller?
Can be model or controller.
Doesn't matter.
Or just object.
And how does Rails, but how does Rails know what to inject where by a convention?
Now, by explicitly typing.
So you have to say include something. But how do you say, but then it's just a module?
Yes. Active support, active application controller. It's all Rails magic and it's all provided by models. It's all models and you can integrate whenever you want. Like, for example, active model serializer only. Not it's quite
One multiple.
But then, I mean, the problem with concerns is that you have, again, the problem, one object with 1,000 methods and you don't know where they come from. And sometimes the methods override each other, call each other again with super, and then to find out which super calls what method is such a pain in the ass. I actually have the same in my own code, so I know what I'm talking about. And are you happy with the concern stuff?
Actually, we have no problems with it. We, for example, got another problems when we try to validate something, and we got new version of CRM, and in new version of CRM, new business rules and new validation rules, and we require versionizing of models to have different version of validations. So this is the main concern in
the main concern, you got this? Yeah, so I mean that's one of the reasons I wrote the reform gem is because of basically versioning of validations. Because in Rails way, I mean it's not exactly the same, but you know you have the same problem with like you have validations in the model, for example comment, and then you have validate this, validate that, and then this is fine in the beginning, but then you start to add new user types like an admin. And then you have to say, shit, the admin shouldn't have a restriction on the body length. So if user not admin, and then you have all this like if and else in one model instead of having, why don't you just have 5 different validation sets for every context? This is basically why we started with reform. Reform is a form object for Ruby. It's also integrated with Rails, and you basically have one form object per context. Here's an example. I mean, we get the internet. Okay, the documentation sucks. So here's basically
actually about the documentation. Yeah.
Yes, you are invited to commit, contribute. This is how reform works in the simplest case. Again, the same concept as Trailblazer operation. You have a class representing something specific, and then you say what fields you have in the form, and then you tell the validations for those fields, and then you can have the same for an admin. You can inherit fields and this kind of stuff, but you have one class per thing, and not one class for 3 different things and you have different else, because that's not nice. Once you reach a complexity that's bigger than 2 days of coding. Yeah, there's so Reform also supports dry validation, which is my favorite, because what we just saw is active model validation. That syntax. We also do. We also support the amazing dry validation gem. Just a quick example. Actually, I have no idea where to find this documentation. Here we go.
You mean dry?
So you can also use the dry validation syntax for. So dry validation is basically a replacement for active model validation done right. And it's. I don't want to say it's similar to Reform because Reform does something completely different, but you basically have one schema, they call it, for every form, and in that schema you have a really rich API to define validation. So you can have chain validations, and you can have, I don't know, grouping and all this kind of stuff. Actually, you don't have grouping; that's a Reform feature. But it's stupid that this example is really shitty. Why don't we look at the dry validation? Now they will tell me, oh, documentation is here. Yeah, like you can have, I mean, the API just allows way more structured and way richer validations than active model. And you can also chain validations and say if that validation, if it's an email, then it should also be not longer than 256. If it's not an email, then it can be this and that. So I don't know, doing this with active model validation is a nightmare. So I'm really happy this project exists and it's working flawlessly with Reform. It's, by the way, the same concept. You have it's not a class, it's an instance, but it doesn't matter. Like you have one schema and then you call the schema, and that's the only way to run that. Amazing. Yeah, the call syntax is becoming a thing in the Ruby community, which is great. Yeah, active interactor, okay. Any other technologies I should know about? This is the only way I learn about other stuff because I'm so blind to other development, except for Hanami and Dry, because we always check with each other. But sometimes I learn about the new things from workshops or something.
Nick, does Reform have some kind of uniqueness validation?
Yeah.
In context of Rails, because I used Rectify for a long time, and there was no such kind of feature.
Well, it does have. You have to use. Oh, there are more. Wow. Great documentation. No, actually, so it comes with uniqueness validation. It's called. It's called unique. So we fix in the unique validator, not the uniqueness validator. We fix a couple of problems with the original validator. Did you ask for active model or for dry?
Yeah.
For dry validation.
Active model.
Okay, yeah. So that works. So we fix a couple of problems we had with the active model. Uniqueness changing state on the form, and we don't want that. This works pretty well, but Reform is another topic. I really have huge plans to change it to something that actually kicks ass because I hate Reform. The way it works, like, huh?
So much hate.
Well, I'm allowed to hate it because I wrote it. Reform was a cool idea 4 years ago, and the API is okay, but internally, it's really well designed with little objects and little things, but this should be easier to change with a public API. So I will extend the public API so you can do stuff like check if the params hash has a title field. If yes, then coerce that title into a string. If the coercion worked, make sure the string is, and then dry validation, blah, blah, blah. After that, I don't know, trim that string, and you know, like you can have chains. Basically, I'm going to use Trailblazer operation, of course. I want to have chains of coercions and validations instead of the way it's done right now. You define, this is my input, this is my validation, now do everything. And sometimes this everything doesn't work and you have no fucking idea where to start with reform. It's a nightmare. Even I get confused sometimes. And once you have this chain, actually I had this idea when I looked at Phoenix, the Elixir framework. When you have this visible chain, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. It's way easier to debug and to learn and to... Also, the problem we have is coercion. Coercion is typecasting something into something else. And coercion, it's really hard to draw the line. Where is validation starting and where does coercion end? Because sometimes, you know, and we don't have a solution for that in Ruby yet. For example, you have an empty string and you want that string to be nil in the end on the model. Is that a coercion? Is that a validation? Is that what happens if that string, if there's an exception? Should that be a validation error or should that be a coercion error? You know, and I want to sit down with Piotr in Moscow and just talk through that process because we're both really interested in making this better. This probably means the end of reform, and I'm totally fine with it. Because yeah, I mean, reform is great, but I mean, wait. Where is the
reform?
Reform. The problem is once you call validate, and then all the validation runs and the deserialization and the coercion and sometimes the coercion break and this kind of stuff. It's such a nightmare to find out what's the problem. So I want to have this explicit. Yeah, but reform is still better than using one active model validation set in your model for everything. So go nuts and use it. And also the way we present it. I don't want to care about this kind of shit anymore because the dry, I don't know if you heard about ROM, Relational Object Mapper, the gem. It basically does all the stuff that reform does way better and way more explicit. So my plan is leave reform the way it is, but replace the whole persisting stuff with ROM, replace the whole validation / coercion stuff with a mix of my own stuff and Piotr and dry validation, dry schema, dry struct. And then if something breaks in when you persist stuff, I can say, ask the ROM guys. If something breaks in the validation, I can say, ask the dry validation guys. Which is the same. ROM guys, but that doesn't matter. Yeah, the reform gem.
So beautiful.
Yeah, great. Great. I actually wanted to know other technology, but I talk about my own stuff again. Does anyone want more stickers? Great, because I only have.
Okay.
Yeah, you get. Yeah, you did well. You offered or suggested to be part of the documentation team.
Actually,
How many?
I have a question for you.
Yes.
I mean,
Shoot.
let everyone know.
You wanted to ask if when you can start documenting.
Yes, something like this. I actually want to ask you how can I help you? It's actually a question. I'm not joking. But before you get too excited, I'm not that good as Sutterer.
Well, the question, how can I help, is an amazing question because it means there's actual potential for support.
Actually, yes.
One big problem we have is that people use all kinds of Trailblazer gems they find something that is shit, you know, even if you hit something you don't understand, you have to make that public. For example, open a GitHub issue or something like that.
It's like a good communication.
That's the first step to helping, because I mean you can also help with implementing everything, but that's the first step. Is I am not Jesus. I don't know how you guys use my gems. And sometimes people come and say, "Hey, this sucks, man. I do this," and I look at the code and I'm like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Like, that's a great idea, but I can't anticipate things go wrong with certain, you know. And then you see people. I go to projects for consulting, look at the code, and they have like a separate branch of, for example, of the sales gem or something, and then have like 55 lines monkey patched. It's like, what are you doing? Yeah, we're fixing this and this and this. I'm like, cool, like great. Thanks for telling me about this problem. And thanks for fixing it yourself and not providing an open source solution. And this kind of stuff, it makes me really aggressive. Because
yeah, I saw.
So first step is communication. Second step is we want to launch some more tools for Trailblazer, and we need help with implementing the tools.
Okay.
Because I hate to say it, but jumping into the core gems might be, I mean, I don't know how much time you want to invest, but for example, reform, it takes a while to understand the internals. Trailblazer is way simpler. So actually, once 2.1 is out, you will start using the shit out of 2.1. And I have so many features and so many things I need people to work on that I'm happy to invest a day to explain what I want to someone else.
Okay.
Given that this person will stay on that problem, because I've also had people, hey, yeah, I'm gonna help you, great, yeah, explain me everything. 2 days, blah, blah, blah. 2 weeks later, I never heard again of this person. Yeah.
But you always know where to find me.
Yeah, somewhere in the Ukraine.
Yeah, I know Oksana came to you and asked you to go to Lviv again to return.
Hey.
So actually kind of part of community already. Sviriduk knows me.
So yeah, if you... where is he today?
What?
Where is he?
I think he's somewhere in the middle of Italy right now. He has...
Italy?
Yeah. He has a vacation, finally. So I think yesterday he was on Bologna, and today, I don't know, he's not.
He's
posted
traveling.
pictures.
Actually, I saw pictures of him as well, but I thought that was like 2 weeks ago.
No,